Oh man, we just couldn't wait. Couldn't wait till next Tuesday, could we, Suns? Huh? Just couldn't let us get 1 or 2 more weeks of just one podcast a week for the Suns Jam Session podcast. But you know what? We're Phoenix Suns fans, and when things are popping off, we're going to come to you live right here on the Suns Jam Session channel, or on the podcast if you're listening at a later time. We're going to talk about it because that's what we're here for. We're fans. We care about this team, care about the direction, care about the opportunity. And so with just over a couple weeks outside of media day, a couple weeks prior to training camp started, Matthew, once again, we're talking DeAndre Ayton trades. This is like WrestleMania. It's like the 18th time we've had to talk about this.
It's good, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, geez.
Yeah. Speaking of looking good, your shirt looks awesome. If you're watching the pod, John got a new shirt. Don't ask how much it was, all right? Because it took him a second mortgage to get that shirt.
Just sports is expensive.
No, yeah, we're here. DeAndre Ayton. I mean, we can go on. We might be on here for 2 hours. He takes a shit. We'll talk about it. So that's why we're live. We're going to overreact. Another trade rumor for DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when DeAndre Ayton's name comes up. Obviously, he is a polarizing topic of conversation within the Phoenix Suns community. There's a reason why he states, I'm trying to change the narrative this past offseason because of people like us, Matthew. Because when things pop off, we want to strike, we want to react to them, and we have thoughts on it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Plenty to talk about because of some of the rumors that are going around. A lot of this starts with Dame Lillard and Miami and a third team and a fourth team and a fifth team. There's fucking 25 teams involved in a potential trade that can get him, by him I mean Lillard, to Miami. So we're going to talk about that, and then obviously some of the specifics that have been discussed and leaked and brought to our attention, and just kind of react to those and give our thoughts on those. So thank you everyone who's joining us live here on the YouTube channel, or on Facebook or on Twitter or on Twitch. We appreciate you. And if you are going to be listening to this or watching this at a different time, we appreciate you too. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day and hanging out with the Suns Jam Session podcast, the original post-game podcast of the Phoenix Suns, and shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I am at Darth Voida. You can follow Matthew.
I'm Matthew Lucy.
And of course, you can read our writing at brightsideofthesun.com, an SB Nation site. So without further ado, I'm going to be popping open nothing crazy, man. Just a good old-fashioned Coors Banquet beer. So pop them if you got them, Suns fans, because Lord knows with all of this DeAndre Ayton talk, still to this day, you're going to need to drink. So pop it, and let's talk about it, huh? Might seem a little premature. It might seem like we weren't going to be doing this soon, but ladies and gentlemen, Ayton Watch. We are once again on Ayton Watch, ladies and gentlemen. So for those of you who don't know kind of what's going on right now, DeAndre Ayton's name has been brought up as the Miami Heat are desperately looking to acquire Dame Lillard from Portland. Lillard, who kind of acts as this summer's Kevin Durant, is wants out and is very specific in where he wants to go. But Portland isn't necessarily wanting to trade him, just like Brooklyn didn't want to trade him. And do you blame him, Matthew?
No, not at all. But there was one thing said last pod where it's like, if you're the Suns, of course you don't get the star. Lillard's going to fight his way out of there, and if it involves other teams, it's going to happen. It's smart for the Blazers not to get rid of him, to make sure it's the right choice of who they bring back to continue to excite that, like the article you were reading before the podcast from Gerald Brigade, excite that Blazers fan base for the future. So it has to make sense. And, DeAndre Ayton's always brought up with these things. And I don't know if I'm sick of it or always excited.
I'm a little bit of both, I feel.
I'm not going to lie. Like, when I first heard about it, this is, I'm just like, okay, good. Let's get something done to get him out of here. I fucking hate that. And I'm not saying like that's the right way to feel, but I hate myself for feeling that when I do support him this year, he has to be the second best player, all that bullshit. Then I'm just like, yeah, let's get him out of here. I don't know what that is. I've never felt
Well,
like this about anybody in my life.
well, I think what it is again, it's just it's the same thing over and over and over
Yeah.
again. And obviously, I saw the news. I was working today. Saw the news pop up. John Gambadoro was talking about it. Who we're going to play a clip from him real quick on kind of what his thoughts were. And I'm part of a chat on Twitter with a bunch of fellow Suns fans who also are very pro DeAndre Ayton. Some to the extent where it's like, I don't care what you say. DA's the greatest ever, and to think of trading him is asinine. And if you don't, you're a terrorist or something. And it's all again. So when I hear this information, like, fuck, here we go again. But at the same time, I like to look at a situation holistically to see all points of view. It's like, okay, well, like, why would the Suns entertain bringing potentially Nurkic, I can't say his name, Yusef Nurkic to the Phoenix Suns? and
Yeah.
what is that appeal? But going back to the Lillard side of things, they're desperately trying to garner that trade bait, right? The Heat want Lillard. So while Flex from Jersey, our good buddy, and he's over at PHNX Sports right now, Jared Bourguet there as well. They've both, cited sources as telling them like, hey, the Suns potentially. I personally think that it's a lot of hogwash, because when these kind of things happen, when you have a team like Miami who's desperate, they're going to start leaking false information in an effort to try to drum up things potentially with Portland. They're like, hey, the market's heating up. Maybe you should probably try to be the ones who help dictate this trade. So, we hear Chicago, we hear Toronto, we hear Phoenix, all being connected to this trade. I don't know how much of it is actually valid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think the Lillard trade, when Gambo, you're gonna play the clip, right? About him saying 24 hours. I think that's legit. I think something's gonna happen. I've always thought this trade's gonna go through. The whole DeAndre Ayton part of it is brought up. When that's brought up, I don't know how much I believe in that, because it just happens all the time. But like, to get a guy like Nurkic back, I mean, that's kind of upsetting in a way, just because he's a great player, but injuries, that's all it is. That would be kind of a letdown. Him, if he was healthy, would be phenomenal. I think it would be a great piece for this Suns roster, the Suns starting five. He would fit right in there. But now that DA's brought up in it, I don't know if I believe that as much. But I do think the whole Lillard thing is definitely going to happen soon. Maybe when
I
we
agree.
wake up tomorrow.
I agree. And I think, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, I'm going to play a Gambo clip, and we're going to talk about kind of some of the specifics, what we're thinking, how it pertains to the Suns. But I think ultimately where I'm going to land is what I stated earlier. I think it's a lot of hogwash. I do believe Lillard will be traded. I don't think the Suns have anything to do with it. And I will say, nor should they. But let's go ahead and play from John Gambadoro, was on 98.7 FM today. Let's play that clip.
I am expecting, from what I'm hearing, a Damian Lillard trade. Now, I will just say this. The Suns all summer have not been willing to trade DeAndre Ayton because they think he fits very well. And be honest, there were just no offers that would change that. We've reported this all summer. The Suns have no interest in – the Suns were not going to trade Ayton. Part of that is, of course, what we've discussed, is there were no good offers. They were not going to sell Ayton for 50 cents on the dollar. The market for DA was low. The value was not something. They were not going to take 50 cents on the dollar for DeAndre Ayton. Now, if the Portland trade does, and Portland did not want DeAndre Ayton, but that was based very much on they had Damian Lillard. They were not going to put DeAndre Ayton with Damian Lillard. If Damian Lillard does get traded, which I'm expecting to happen, then it'll be very interesting to see if Nurkic is on the table. I would be surprised if the Suns don't look at that.
So there you go. All right, that's John Gambadoro, obviously Arizona Sports, reporting just what we just talked about, how the Miami Heat are actively trying to acquire Damian Lillard, and potentially the Phoenix Suns could be a destination as a third team to kind of help the mechanisms behind the trade actually come to fruition. Now, when you look at it, ultimately, the Phoenix Suns, and Dave King wrote a great piece about this today on Bright Side of the Sun, the Suns don't have a ton of trade assets. In fact, they primarily just have like DA. because of all their new additions. No one on the team is really tradable until December 15th, and those are all veteran minimum contracts. You're not trading Devin Booker. You're not trading Kevin Durant. So there's not a lot of options. So if Phoenix would be involved, it would be DeAndre Ayton. A lot of the money doesn't match up. If you look at Nurkic's contract, it's 26 million, something around there, which doesn't match up to the 32.5 that is DeAndre Ayton. So there would have to be other players involved, whether they're coming over from the Miami Heat or if they're coming over from the Portland Trail Blazers. No one that really makes the math work, unless if you do a combination of Yusuf Nurkic, you do Caleb Martin from the Miami Heat, and you have Shaedon Sharpe from the Portland Trail Blazers. But again, then the Suns would have too many players on their roster and too many trade ineligible players to help alleviate that problem unless they cut a few players. So the mechanics of it all it would have to be very specific. And I don't know if it's plausible, but based on all that, it does bring up the conversation Ayton versus Nurkic, right? So initially, what are your thoughts? Ayton versus Nurkic, give me just kind of your overall view of it before we get into some of the statistical specifics.
Yeah, so if it's a guy like Vucevic, I'm down for that. I think Vucevic, obviously, he doesn't have the health issues like Nurkic has, and I think it's a different team. But a guy like Vucevic would have been perfect, I think, for this kind of deal. Just a standard player, want to make as much money, so they have to make things work different ways. But Vucevic, just with the injuries, that's the one thing that just sucks. I mean, every year, he's played like 8 games, 50 games, 40 games, whatever. The past 4 years, it's been such a horrible. Like every year you go into every season, it's like the Trailblazers, they have such a good roster. They get going, then Nurkic gets hurt. And it's like, damn, dude, they always are so close to pulling something together and making a title run. It's always up to him. When I'm thinking about DA, now that he's mentioned again, and now that Gambo does say, why wouldn't they look at Nurkic? Why wouldn't he be a valuable option? It just makes me think of is DA just such a distraction going into this season that the Suns are just really trying to still find a way? Trade offers are there, and there's nothing there. Obviously, there's no value, but they're still listening. So I just feel like if the Suns really were wanting this team as a whole now, after so many pieces are added, if they wanted this team as a whole going into the season, feeling confident about it, this wouldn't even be brought up. And I know things are thrown out there, things are made up by the agents, whatever they have to do to get these guys traded, but his name keeps getting brought up. Now I'm just like, DA has to be like a distraction, because going to next season, what else do we have to worry about? It's about DA. How can he adapt? How is he going to be mentally? They see something. Vogel might see something too. He's like, you know what? No way. I met this guy already. I don't know what I can do with him. Maybe it's just already that far along again. Maybe it is, because I don't know, man. Otherwise, if it's going head to head, of course I would keep DA. But the distraction, I don't know. If we get Vucevic, if we get Nurkic here, I always say the names wrong. If we get Nurkic here and he has the injury problems, would you rather deal with that or a DA that is just an absolute distraction, and then it's the same thing every fucking
DA,
year?
because there's two things there. One, he's not a distraction. One, the reason that his name keeps being brought up is for the point I said earlier. He's the only one who's a tradable contract. Okay, he's a former number 1 overall pick, and he's a tradable contract. And the reason the Suns are quote-unquote listening is because it's irresponsible not to listen. When you have somebody like him whose name has been brought up, again, we named this podcast DA Trade Watch, whatever, 18, because it's always happening. The Mavericks made a trash offer to him this offseason. Multiple teams have made offers for him because he's potentially on the table, because he is a former number 1 overall pick who has a contract that you can trade for and you can stack up to put together. And again, he hasn't had the greatest run here in the Valley. I think that, again, what we're hearing through these leaks is what Los Sun says in the chat. So basically, the Suns are not looking to trade DA, but would probably hear some phone calls. I think that's the response.
Not good though. Still,
but so
should they be all in?
Should they not pick up the phone if somebody's calling?
No, they have to be all in. They got Vogel here. Vogel wants.
Yeah, but what
Ayton,
if
right?
But what if it's somebody calling and you're waiting on a phone call because your car's in the shop and you pick it up and you're like, oh shit, it's the GM from the fucking Blazers, and then your intern hears that, they're like, dude, I gotta tell Flex something. Okay,
I don't know.
Potentially, I think that the Suns' best standpoint, in my opinion, is you stand fast with DA and you see how it works this season. I don't think he's a distraction. He could be a distraction to the point where it's like, yeah, here we are sitting talking
I don't
about
think
him, right?
he is now. He's not right now, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying
we don't
there
know
has
yet,
to be
though.
something there.
Of course there is, but we don't know yet, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this is not the best possible DA deal, right? You sit there, you sit back, you let the seasons play out, you let the entire season play out. I'm not saying trade deadline shit. Let the entire season play out, and based on what we've built around him, the assets around him that can score and can rebound and can play make and do everything to help support him, I think that if at that point, after Vogel and the new coaching staff has had an opportunity to work with him and they can go to James Jones and at that point give their honest feedback, then you make a decision. You don't do it right now on the precipice of a new season in which he is the fourth best player on this team. And as you've mentioned, he needs to play like the second or third best player on this team. And not necessarily statistically, but from an impact standpoint, from an attitude and effort standpoint, for this team to truly be great, you have to play that out instead of, in my opinion, bringing in fucking Nurkic. Like you said, Vucevic. Yeah. Vucevic is a good comp, in my opinion. Vucevic, less talented on the interior, a little bit more of a perimeter player.
Just a solid center.
But yeah, just kind of your average solid center. Yeah. You know, which any response to that before I bring up some statistics and such?
No. Just the only thing is, so the Suns right now are championship or bust every year, right? So you said play out the season with DA, and I don't think he's a distraction right now. I really don't. Distraction, I don't mean in the locker room at all. I think he gets along with the guys. He's fine. But when it comes to winning, knowing what to do, then it's like, okay, we can see it on the court. Then the fans start tearing each other apart every year over this guy. That's the distraction I'm talking about, because there's no one else on the roster right now that you have questions about. Maybe Kevin Durant with his injuries. But if you're talking about like, okay, who needs to really step up? It's DA. Can we count on him? I don't know. Is he a big piece, dude? Yes. And I hate asking myself questions and answering them. I always hate it when people do that. So that's it, man. I don't know, but what you can do some stats.
Well, so the first thing one thing that I threw out on Twitter is I just threw out the advanced metrics. Okay, again, like the way that my brain operates is when these kind of things happen, I like to look at it, if you will, holistically. I want to take in everything and be like, okay, are we looking at this all? What's the other side of the story? Why would the Suns entertain this? Because if you were to ask me, well, what's my knee-jerk reaction? Well, my knee-jerk reaction is obviously like you keep DA. There's no way that you don't keep DA, especially when Nurkic is involved. But I put it out there, Mike, for anyone who's interested in the advanced metrics, you take a look at the advanced metrics relative to rebounding, right? I wrote rebounding and then it's interior defense. I'm an idiot. So this is the interior defense. Rim deterrence, 80th percentile for Nurkic, 70th percentile for DeAndre Ayton. If you look at rim contest per 75 possessions, 98th percentile for Nurkic, 76th percentile for DA. If you look at post defense, 81 percentile for Nurkic. This one goes to DA at 88%. If you look at screener rim defense, DA's 99th percentile. Screener rim defense for Nurkic is 93 percentile. And last one, I'll just, blocks per 75 possessions, 80 percentile for Nurkic and 74th percentile for DA. So when people want to talk about a defensive anchor, and that's one thing that Gambo said, he tweeted out that on the interior, Nurkic is a better player. He's more of a defensive anchor, which kind of aligns with what Frank Vogel likes to do. He doesn't necessarily need a perimeter defender. He's an interior defender kind of guy, a rim protector. Per the advanced metrics, those favor generally use of Nurkic. What are your thoughts on those?
Okay, so Nurkic is the better player, but the only thing that we're talking about, the reason we wouldn't want him is because of injury, right?
That's one of the reasons that we'll get to.
Yeah, because if I had to choose between the two and they were both healthy, you're going to say they were going to play all next year, I would take Nurkic. I just would. And contracts aside, I don't care. Even going over these stats, yes, I would take Nurkic over Ayton. And I'm not talking about development and the future, all that. Just next year, we're going to win a championship. I would rather take Nurkic.
Okay, so when we look at the rebounding side of this as well, offensive rebounding, that goes to DA, 94th percentile versus the 83rd percentile for Nurkic. If you look at putbacks per 75 possessions, that's That's one of the ones where I'm reading this wrong. If you look down on over and then carry the 1, offensive rebounding, they're right about the same. Offensive rebounding talent, Nurkic is 81 percentile on offensive rebounding talent, and there's a lot of B-ball index metrics that develop that. DA's 66%, right? You look at putbacks per 75 possessions, DA's in the 87th percentile, as is Nurkic, so that's kind of a wash. On the defensive side, okay, defensive rebounds per 75 possessions, Nurkic 96th percentile, DA 94th percentile. If you're looking at defensive rebounding talent, it's 98 percentile to 96 percentile. So overall, from a rebounding standpoint, there's a slight edge to Nurkic there per the advanced stats. What are your thoughts on that?
I still want Nurkic. I mean, yeah. When the thoughts on like the grades. I mean, this is great. I love the percentiles and all that. But when I'm talking about like body language on the court, you see a dominant player out there.
Well, that's another conversation. And
yeah.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah. Great percentiles. I like it.
Okay. So,
again, I'm sorry. I just don't know.
No. You're okay. But so my thought process, and that's why I bring this up, is if you look at the advanced metrics, they all edge and point towards Nurkic is the right answer in some. If you're looking strictly through that lens, right? But again, like you can't and you shouldn't look strictly through one lens. And that's an issue that so many people have in so many things. Religion, politics, all of it. Everyone tends to look at everything through one lens and goes, well, this is it. This benefits my argument. Boom, there it is. There's other arguments that are obviously factors in here. Body language, Matthew. You were just talking about body language. So tell me a little bit about your observations on body language for both of these guys when they play on the court.
Okay, so when Nurkic is healthy, he's out there with that full roster that they had even a couple years ago. I know the whole Western Conference run is probably a mirage, but basically it's because Nurkic can't stay on the floor. But when he's on the floor, man, this guy in the middle, you notice him. Like he's actually a true center, a guy that can be that great defensively. You just notice it instantly. It's like, how are you going to be able to even go into lane against this guy? Like that's what I'm talking about. Body language with Ayton, like one game it can look great, then the next it's not. So Nurkic himself, it has the injury thing, which is like, okay, well, is he going to be playing? I don't know. But DA is always there. He's never rarely gets hurt, but is he going to be there mentally? Is he going to be there like on the court? Like, is he going to be in the right spot? Is he going to be doing the right thing to help this team win? I don't know. I just know if Nurkic is healthy, though, he's the guy that I can rely on to watch. Be like, okay, this guy fits in. This makes sense. I'm not going to have to worry unless there's an injury if this guy's going to actually produce.
So that's another lens, right? And that's the more subjective lens. Okay, so when you look at advanced metrics, that's a very specific lens to look through because you are relying purely on a lot of weird little factors that equate to something. That's where the nerds and the nerdery are like, well, as you can clearly see, Nurkic is better than Ayton in every aspect. Therefore, Nurkic is better than Ayton. From a body language standpoint, again, I don't watch Jusuf Nurkic enough to sit there and tell you how he plays game to game. I will say that I do, as you stated, I notice him on the court. He's a center. He's out there. He seems to hustle hard. But again, from an athletic standpoint, he's rigid. He's tough to watch because of his rigidness. And while DA doesn't always give his best effort, and that can be a challenge in who he is as a player, his athleticism jumps off of the page when he's engaged. And that's what, again, we're all kind of hoping for this season. As the narrative is supposed to be changing, we're hoping that the mind meets the physicality that is DeAndre Ayton as we move forward into this season. The other lens to look through is some of the non-advanced metrics, but purely matchup based. Okay, you look at both these guys are 6'11". Nurkic has got 30 pounds on DA, and that kind of supports what we see on the court. Okay, Nurkic looks like a center. He's a big body, a little more rigid, less athletic. DA, 30 pounds lighter, can be a little bit more athletic. One in Nurkic is 29 years old. DA has just turned 25. And I chose to look at the last 3-year stats because I'm not going to do a whole career. And I think this is where you really need to kind of look at some of the nuts and bolts. If you look at games played, DA's averaged over the last 3 years 64.6 games played. Nurkic has averaged only 48.3. If you look at minutes played, 30.2 minutes played for DeAndre Ayton to 26.6 minutes played per game for Yusuf Nurkic. So if you are to trade away Nurkic, who is, as stated here, plays less games, almost 20 games less per season, and he's going to play less minutes, you really have to make sure that that starting or that backup 5 position is taken care of. You think Drew Eubanks would be pissed off? He's like, fuck, I just got away from this guy. I just got done backing this guy up. I got to fucking do it again. From a field goal percentage standpoint, DA's got Nurkic by almost 10%. DA's 61.4% from the field, whereas Nurkic is 52.4%. Free throws, almost 10% again, 75.9% free throw percentage for DA versus 66.7% free throw percentage from Nurkic. And that's one thing I can't stand. I love that DA can shoot free throws. I love if DA gets fouled and he goes to the line, you don't have to worry about it. And I don't want to worry about it. And then if you just simply look at the most basic stats there are, DA last 3 years, 16.5 and 10.2 when it comes to points per game and rebounds, to 13.5 and 9.8 for Nurkic. So now you look at these stats, Matthew, not the advanced metrics where we kind of lean towards Nurkic on some of those. The body language, which is kind of a wash because we really don't know Nurkic well enough. But when you look at this, you get it to DA, right?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, I mean, when you look at the stats and comparing and going down the line, you're like, yeah, DA looks better. When you think about the two, though, and you were to ask me, like, hey, who do you think averaged more points per game or rebounds per game? I would think maybe even Nurkic. Sometimes.
That's what you think, right?
That's what you would think. Yeah. And I already know I know the stats and stuff, and I don't want this trade to even happen. That's probably what we're going to talk about last. I don't, because of that reason that Nurkic just hurt. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
For me, it's clear cut. It's clear cut.
But now, again, stats really matter, though, because I know we're going to the season now. We're talking about DA. His stats are going to go down, so it shouldn't really matter as much.
Stats aren't everything. Stats aren't everything, but they tell a story, right? And again, the main stats in that story are this guy's oft injured. When he does, he's not productive. DA has a high productivity when it comes to his field goal percentage. He's playing, 85% of the season, 80% of the season you're getting from DA. And you know what you're getting. And as mentioned before, he's athletic. And while we don't necessarily need him to guard the perimeter, it's nice to have that. And so while Nurkic has that ability to be that defensive anchor that Frank Vogel wants, when you look at it through these 3 different lenses, knowing that the Suns aren't shopping DA, that's not what this is. This is them simply fielding phone calls, and then like Flex and Gerald are hearing about it, and they're saying, hey, and Gambo, and they're hearing phone calls about it. Well, yeah, of course they're going to pick up the phone if somebody's calling on the one guy who has a contract that is tradable on this team. It'd be irresponsible of James Jones not to pick up that phone, in my opinion. So when you look at it through all these lenses, I just don't see it. And again, as we mentioned before, if they could attach an asset to it that really made sense, that really moved that needle, I could be for it, but I just don't see it. I'm excited to see DA this season. I'm excited to see who he is after playing in the Olympics. I'm excited to see who he is with these people around him, how he can truly focus on an aspect of his game and fortify that aspect. And I think it would be just a really bad move by the Suns to move off of that at this point.
Yeah, no. So the weird thing to me about this whole thing is that they are taking phone calls. I just think that if you're going to go into this season and you want the Big Four, you want DA to be part of that. The fact that this is getting out, I mean, DA is already sick of it. He's already sick of all the talk. Everyone hates him and all that. But when this is getting out there, like, okay, you're still taking phone calls to trade me away. You know nothing else is out there, right? They should know that. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just such a weird thing. To me, I just think DA should be staying, right? This trade should not happen, obviously. But when we're going head-to-head and they're both healthy, yes, I would take Nurkic. But I just want the Suns team to know, like, we're going to the season. We have these Big Four. We have to be confident in that. If they were confident in that, the season's almost starting, dude. 33 more days. They wouldn't be fielding phone calls for this guy. I think that's just the craziest thing. This close to the season already.
But that's how business works.
I know that. I know that. But you have to know, like, these are our core guys. Like if it was Kyrie, like what they did with Brooklyn, right? They started the season, they had those big three, they believed in them. Obviously didn't work out, but you just got to believe in these guys. I just think it's kind of a strange thing that this is still happening. That's why it just kind of blows my mind.
It's part of the business, in my opinion. It doesn't blow my mind at all. It's a story. It's like I said, there's a lot of false narratives being thrown out there because Miami's getting desperate and they want them. And they're trying to attach anything they can, and they're bulldozing through. James Jones could come out and be like, dude, we picked up the phone and we said no. And so that we fielded that phone call. But somebody leaked it the way that it did, and that's how this came out. Who truly knows?
Yeah.
But it brings me to my Matthew I've got to ask question.
Oi, Matty. Mate, I've got to ask.
Oi, Matty. Mate.
God, sounds so good, man. Awesome.
Boyd's got to ask. That's Boyd's voice from the Aussie Suns fan podcast.
Boyd.
Thank you, Boyd, for helping us out with that. Does DA get traded at all this season between now and the end of the year, and the trade deadline?
I think he does. The fact that this is brought up again, like I was, that article that the matchups and stuff I'm looking forward to with Sabonis. I was really looking forward to this season just with him improving. And I really think that this stuff getting out again just really makes me believe like, hey, something's going to happen. Like you just have to think like they met DA. Vogel's been with DA. There's something they still see. They're like, no, I'm just saying, that's why I think a trade might still happen and probably will happen. I don't want it to happen. I want him to be on this team and improve. But there's something out there that is just like, no, we cannot get this guy to function on this team. So I think so. Yeah. What do you think?
I think there's no chance.
No.
The math doesn't make sense. The roster construction doesn't make sense. I think that unless DA comes out and literally is like on the court farting, he's like D. Reynolds when they're on the Family Feud, falls down, and
falls down, farts,
and just farting the whole time.
Did that.
I don't think that that's in the cards. I think that it's a full season. It's all in this season. And it's not all in, but maybe we'll trade DA because again, I think that Vogel's gonna he's gonna go balls to the wall. And then again, based on the performance of not just DA, but everyone on this team, he's gonna go to James Jones and be like, hey, here's what I need next season. If they don't win a championship, he's gonna go, here's what it is and here's why. And DA ultimately could be the scapegoat at the back end of the season. The Suns don't win a championship, DA is going to be traded. It's going to be a fucking fact. They're not trading Booker. They're not trading Durant. They're not trading Beal because Beal has that no trade clause. It will be on him. So that being said, if they don't win a championship, DA will be traded, but it's not going to happen during the season, in my opinion. That's just me.
Yeah, you know what? And it is championship or bust every year with this team, dude. So they know right now, this is my thought. They know right now, and we got to the finals 3 years ago. That's fine. But with DA, but they just know right now that this might not work with him, and they're looking to somewhere else, and that's not good.
Thoughts on this comment, Matthew?
Yes.
Matthew's all over the place today. Says he prefers Nurk, but then he says we wants DA on the team.
You're saying head to head. Hey, listen, Joel Ramirez wasn't on the. He was on the pod the other day.
Yeah, he came on. Yeah, he came on.
Yeah, I see it. I head to head healthy. Yes, I would take Nurkic right now to win a championship. If he's healthy, I would take Nurkic and put him in DA's spot. Absolutely. I think DA will be good eventually, and I hope to God he is, and I hope he improves, and he can maintain his positivity from the summer and bring it over here and just kind of be a leader. That'd be awesome. But if you're saying like, hey, if I would be more comfortable if I heard there was a trade for Nurkic, if Nurkic was a healthy guy, but it's not going to happen.
So then you lean DA.
Yeah, I don't want the trade to happen. If we get Nurkic, I think that would actually kind of suck because of the injury shit. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Because you don't, again, as stated before, like 48 games, it just doesn't make any sense. I think from a talent standpoint, DA's easily got him, and
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it's funny how this continues to come up.
This is like, I'm always torn with DA. You guys see me at the post-game pod. What the fuck? I never know what I'm saying about DA. It's always back and forth, dude. And I probably did say, yeah, make the trade to start the pod. I probably did. I'm gonna re-listen. Did I say that?
I
Do the
know.
trade? Oh
No, it's just when we're talking about advanced metrics, you were saying like, yeah, I'd go with Nurk based on these metrics. Yeah. It's like,
Okay.
then, yeah, it's like you look at the body language, I don't know. And then you look at the other
I might
statistics,
have.
like, yeah, I'd go with DA. So it's like, again, it's a holistic approach. And when you compare players and you're not comparing, 9/11 conspiracies and bringing terrorists into it, Joel, stupidest fucking take I've ever heard, bro. Stupidest fucking take. Don't talk about
What,
9/11
Joe
that way, you
Burrow?
fucking douche. No, I'm talking about 9/11. But I think at the same time, like, so John pulled Edward de Dios, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield.
Oh, Miles Turner.
I would do
Absolutely.
Miles Turner. I would.
I would absolutely.
I would absolutely do Miles
He's like
Turner.
the one guy that's just like over there. Like, wait. How come we just can't have him here? Yeah, definitely.
So that's what's going to happen is they're going to trade with the Pacers. Okay.
Okay.
And Dame's going to end up somehow in Toronto. And then Miami's going to be like, no. And then he's going to ask for a trade there.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows what the shit? It's all smoke, guys. It's
You think
all
so?
smoke.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yes.
I said I'm going to end the pod right where I started. It's all hogwash. None of it's going to happen. Will Dame get traded in 24 hours? Gambo's probably right. But I don't think that there's any way that Phoenix is involved. I would be shocked if I wake up tomorrow and if in any way, shape, or form, DA is a part of this. I think it's been smoke. And again, in true Suns fashion, it starts fights among Suns fans. That's what DA does. That's another reason, if DA was to ever leave, I don't know if I'd be sad because I'm a Suns fan. And I want to like coexist. And DA is just like this point of contention with everybody where it's like, if you bring up anything anti-DA, all the pro DA people, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're fucking, you're like a 9/11 apologist, or conspiracy theorist. And it's like, no, man, I'm looking at this all over the place. You have to see this from all points of view. Like I say, it's like religion and politics, man. It's like so many people just want to be part of that gang. And if you say anything pro Ayton, all the anti-Ayton people show up and be like, what the fuck, man? Ayton sucks. His body language, his attitude, his engagement. It's just like, you can't win whatever you say with DA. You just can't, It's like I've always said, it's what it is.
Yeah, and I'm a total mess right now. Like, I don't even know what just happened the past 37 minutes. And, there is one other take is like, what if DA just wants out of here? What if he did, he was scrimmaging
with
with
he's the driver of this?
What if he's just like, you know what? Like, I just can't do it with this guy. I can't do it with Book anymore. I'm just done with it. Like, I want a fresh start somewhere. I think Portland would be nice. What if he did have that take and it's on the low down, the down low, the DL, the LD? And maybe he can get his take in there, and they're like, okay, we'll get you out of here, man. Maybe.
Yeah, it's anything's possible. Yeah. It's just like Jay Crowder, right? Like I just wrote a piece on how are we going to remember Jay Crowder, and in the moment, because I was thinking about Jay Crowder because Suns Media Day is coming up, and I remember how horrible Suns Media Day was last year because it was just it was the Jay Crowder and Robert Sarver talk, and here's a team that just won 64 games and has championship aspirations, and it was just like this mood, and like I don't want to go into this one with that same mood in the room where there's like, well, DA, we just traded him because, or we're talking about trading him and he's depressed about it. It's like, again, we gotta stop letting DA
Someone's
just
gonna ask
fucking
that, right?
tear us apart, man. But
someone will ask him that, right? Media day, and someone will be like, hey, what about the trade rumors? They're still got you in the trade rumors.
Oh, I already know
That's
what my
just
question
fucking crazy.
I already know what my question for DA is going to be.
Okay.
I already got it. You guys want
How
to preview?
big is it? Just kidding. What? Just ask every player that. So, how put on your glasses?
Act like you're looking at your notebook. Like,
Yeah.
let's see here. So, according to how big is it?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like
your expectations, sir. Your expectations.
Yeah, why don't more guys and players just tell everybody? Everyone would be happier just to know.
Who would be happy?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. CDA just fucking messes with us, dude. All this for nothing. Nothing's gonna happen.
Well, again, we shall see. Again, nothing's gonna happen, and we'll be coming to you not live tomorrow because nothing will happen. So hopefully, just be until next Tuesday when we finish off the Western Conference preview that we started. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys on Tuesday night. Looking forward to the season starting. Looking forward to just picking DA apart every fucking game. Like, you should have got fucking Nurkic, man.
Oh my God.
I told you on September 21st, man, we should have got Nurkic. DA can't guard shit.
Chancellors, if you're out there and you want to make a quick video, Oh, two things really good. Go back in the pod, get the snip of me saying, "Yeah, I want this trade to happen." And then, no, I don't want this trade to happen. Do that, and then we'll
That'd be
keep playing
funny.
that all season long.
Yes.
So that'd be cool. There's two things, but I don't want to say the other one.
That's it. You're done.
Yeah, and I gotta make sure my voice this season, man.
Yeah,
Keep
come
losing
on.
it anyways.
Well, you got to go to like a vocal coach or start drinking beer like a man.
Yeah.
Let's
Cool.
see. Michael in the chat. John, your shirt is sick. I got Sean Marion to autograph my son's jacket when I was a chef at Red Lobster on Tatum and Cactus. I remember that Red Lobster. I don't think it's there anymore. They blew up that whole area. The whole PV mall is gone. He used to come in and sit at the bar by himself and eat crab legs. Thank you, Mike, Chef Michael.
Very cool.
Thank you. Heard. As we say in the chat, or is it saying in the chat? As we say in the kitchen, heard. On that note, Jamsters, again, thanks for stopping by. DA is always a topic of conversation, and we'll be bringing you updates about him all season long. Even if he's traded to Portland, we're still going to do Ayton Watch. We're going to pop in and let you know how he was in Portland tonight. Just kidding. He's not going anywhere, guys. So until we speak again, make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review. Follow my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. Follow me on Twitter at Darth Voida. Follow Matthew on Twitter.
I'm Matthew Lissy.
And go home and love your what, Matthew?
Families.
Oh, of course.